What an interesting late addition to the summer 2021 anime seasons. I just got done with the first 2 episodes of the Idaten Deities Know Only piece. This is a series, again, that's running in the summer 2021 anime season, and this is my thoughts on the series so far. This series mainly focuses on the Idatens, which are these deities that essentially help mankind. It kind of later on gets into the idea that essentially mankind, or at least all living beings, have their thoughts and their desires kind of manifesting in these Idaten deities. And these Idaten deities are, again, manifestations of not just thoughts, but also desires of salvation that all creations have. And of course, mostly since humans have thoughts more than anything else, it's mostly in the form that is manifest from humans themselves, whereas you'll actually get one lady that's able to hear the cries and the words of birds. Some of her manifestation is through birds, not just humans. We find out that 800 years prior, a bunch of demons showed up and were basically wiping out all of mankind. And these Idatens showed up and basically beat the crap out of them. And at some point, several of them, all but one, ended up sacrificing themselves in order to steal away these demons. And this one that remained was Rin. And they told Rin that because she was so young that she would stay behind and, basically usher in the next of the Idatens that will end up being birthed. And then her strength will then have to train them in case something like this ever happened again. And now at the present time, we have Rin, and she is training Hayato, who is one of these Idatens, and she's apparently been training him for about 80 years so far. And it's kind of funny because her training regimen seems to be just beat the crap out of the person. So she has another one named Yizli that is apparently was trained before him, and he just I'm not doing this anymore, I'm out of here. And as time goes along, Hayato ends up running off with Yizli and another Idaten named Paula, and they all seem to, through the words of birds, end up finding out this nation, Zobel, is currently at the North Pole. There's a plane there, and they're all meeting there. So they go to find out what's going on, and it ends up being that the leadership, or at least the scientist there, is trying to resurrect a demon that is currently frozen up there in the North Pole. And after this thing is kind of thawed out, they end up having to fight it, and only Hayato is able to stand up against this, which kind of leads to them seemingly wanting to train with Rin going forward. But then this kind of gives us a little bit of insight into the Zobel Empire, who seems to be wiping out all the other nations. They're going around just destroying and pillaging and, unfortunately, sexually abusing people, which this is going to be a warning for a lot of people. This is a, yes, very cartoonish, but also very graphic show, and it does not shy away from things like forced sexual interactions. So keep that in mind. There's a kind of a very unsettling scene at the very end of the first episode, which I would say I kind of dislike, not because I don't want that in a show, but the fact that it kind of made it out almost whimsical and comical, which I thought was kind of distasteful, but it is what it is. But again, you're getting insight into the Zobel Empire, and it implies, at least with the end of the second episode, that the Zobel Empire has high-ranking members that are behind the scenes controlling things that are all demons. Seems to be implying that they're demons, that because they have some kind of very strong ability, and obviously one of them creates these tentacles out of his hand to kill somebody. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now, is that setup. And I think the one more interesting thing that it is hitting on is that, again, going into the concept of what makes the Idatens. And what they're implying, again, is that the Idatens are a manifestation of people's thoughts and also their desire for salvation. And the kind of cruel thing that it's creating here, which I think is going to be a story beat going forward, is that the Idatens don't necessarily get involved with a lot of the human interactions. And they do stress on the idea that there is, humans are constantly at war with each other, they're slaughtering each other, nation versus nation things do happen, but they don't get involved. The one that's kind of laying this all out is Yizli. And Yizli is kind of mentioning the idea that, well, if you've seen a demon, you would kill a demon, right? You would take out a demon that's harming people, but we won't get involved when there's human versus human. Why? Well, it's implying the idea that, well, demons are evil and we have to kill them. But what I mean by the fact that this is kind of one of those heartless but actual aspects of the story they're getting into is the idea of, well, if there is this Zobel Empire that is just wiping out the other side, and they show, again, this is the thing that ended the first episode, this priest that was crying out for a god to save her, why wouldn't she have been saved? Why wouldn't they have intervened there and saved her from this kind of cruel fate? Well, because they don't get involved with humans versus humans. And I think this is what they're going to get into with Yeasley going forward, because it does play out this idea that, one, he was talking to somebody to come get this demon's corpse before the Zobel Empire. And then two, there was a tracking device or something electronic on Ren's body, which I'm assuming Yeasley did, because right after that scene where she finds this thing on her cloak, he mentioned the idea that, well, why did you come here to train with her? Well, I had something to do. It's obvious to plant this. So what I think they're going to get into going forward is probably Yeasley doesn't like this aspect. Yeasley does not like the idea that these Idatens are basically spawned. They show this whole scene where essentially, because of all these thoughts and these pleas for salvation, eventually this little orb appears somewhere on the Earth, and Ren will train with Hayato going around the Earth constantly in order to find these and pull an Idaten out of this orb and thus birth one of these Idatens. They can leave them, and after a while, they say after centuries, they will, manifest themselves, but pulling them out is a lot quicker. And like I said, usually what I think they're going to get into is the idea of, well, if this is why we were born, is from this, again, this priest. She plead, and obviously there was probably an Idaten that was born from that. Well, why don't they get involved? If this is what's spawning them, why wouldn't they answer those calls? And like I said, I think that's what they're probably going to do with Yeasley, is have him be he seems like an evil person, but this is probably what he's fighting against. This idea of, why do we stand by and just wait for demons? We should be interacting with all of these cases. This is what birthed us. Why would we not take action? And all this is to say that I am very interested in where this show is going forward. Yes, I'm very uncomfortable with that final scene in the first episode, but it does push the point. I think it's kind of one of those things where we see slaughter and people going around in flamethrowers and gunfire and executions, and it doesn't hit us as hard as that. And as unfortunate as it is how they portrayed it, it is essentially the point that this is something they're not interacting with, but yet it's the thing that makes them who they are. Why wouldn't they get involved? And I think if they get into that kind of storytelling, I think it'll be very interesting. Like, so far, just based on everything outside of that, it just really feels like a very shonen type show, very comedic, very fun, a lot of great animation. There's a couple points where the animations itself didn't fit the action that was happening. Like, they had this point in which this demon gets knocked back and it slams up the side of this glacier wall, and when it hits, this big old geyser comes up, and it's like that geyser shouldn't have happened there. It doesn't really fit the the physics there, but other than that, it looked really good. I like a lot of the action scenes. A lot of the action looks really great. This is being done by MAPPA, and MAPPA has been doing a lot of fantastic animation. The styling may be different for some people. I do like it. I do like the character designs, which is surprising because the character designer is actually Kyokyo, who of course did the manga for Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid. And I didn't necessarily like the character designs in Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid, the manga. So it is interesting to see the different takes from that creator, and I think I really do like these ones. But it's got really impeccable pacing. It's got great directing that's happening with it. I really like the how everything's kind of being laid out. The action scenes are fun. The characters so far are really good. It has a really great spread of characters, having like the very violent but duty-driven Rin. You do have a more laid-back but yet very determined and gung-ho main character. I would kind of claim him as the main character, Hayato. You have a more kind of soft and more caring character like Paula. And then you have the Brainiac character with Yeasley. And then kind of coupled with that, it does seem like they're giving a lot of interest into, or at least attention into, the other side of things, which is the demons. And it is kind of laying it out. It is trying to make seemingly the enemy side of things a little more relatable and understandable. So I'm curious again if that's going to be something that will end up doing something interesting in the end. But overall, a very solid cast that they've already kind of created with this series. And like I said, I'm very interested in the plot devices they put into play with the birth of the Idatens, the concepts of what they get involved with and what they don't get involved with, the idea of the impending doom with the demons, obviously finally going to be possibly getting involved with the Zobel Empire that's just ravaging the entire world, because of their possibility connection to the demons. But yeah, very solid first 2 episodes. That's really got me excited already for this series. The actual styling itself is very neon as well, which was kind of interesting. A lot of the coloring and everything is very neon, and I really do like that. I think it really does stand out. But like I said, overall, very solid first 2 episodes. Already got me really kind of invested in wanting to see more of this. The comedy's pretty on point. There's just so many of these points where Hayato makes a comment about the age of Ren being like technically over 800 years old. The good old Baba in a lolly body kind of thing, and him just getting the crap beat out of him. Just these funny little, very violent comedy beats and all that kind of stuff is just... Everything is just absolutely solid. Like I said, the only thing that I did not like about these first 2 episodes was the portrayal of the scene at the end of the first episode. Like I said, I think it was done distastefully. But other than that, everything else is absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait for more. Definitely, like I said, a late comer to the summer 2021 anime season, and definitely worth the wait. Also, for those that don't know, this is technically the creator behind Interspecies Reviewers, so... Definitely also a really interesting, different take from this creator. Obviously, they have an interesting take on the different species of, fantasy, like different types of beast monsters and stuff like that, and human, demi-humans and all that kind of stuff. And to go from a series that was just basically about a bunch of people reviewing burlesque houses to now doing a full-on adventure with, deities, possibly protecting mankind from demons, is definitely an interesting, different take from this creator. But, obviously they have an interesting take on different species and stuff. So that'll add just a little bit extra flavor to the series. But I hope you guys enjoyed my first impressions of the Idaten Deities No Only Piece, a series that is airing in the summer 2021 anime season. If you're checking out the series or are you going to be checking it out, definitely leave a comment down below. Like this video if you like this video. Share this video if you can. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I thank you all for watching, and y'all take care.